First off, Roland, thank you very much for joining us. You're training out in Winnipeg at the moment?
Yes, sir.
And, of course, you're getting ready. You got to fight. Oh, it's coming up, like 9 days away, UFC 174 against Tanaka. Is it Michinori Tanaka, if I pronounced that right?
I have no idea.
Fair enough. That's fine. Obviously, before we start talking about 174, I think a lot of people are going to recognize you from Tough, and they're going to kind of forget, no offense, that you've actually had 4 fights in the UFC almost. You've been around for a little while now, I'm afraid.
So I've had 5 fights in the UFC.
Yes, yeah, and of course 1 pulled out as well.
Yes,
we'll talk about that. But first off, where did you get your start in the martial arts, and how did that transition to MMA?
I used to do judo when I was a kid. Well, actually, what happened was that when I was younger, I used to fight a lot. I used to get a lot of trouble, and I was getting like I literally wasn't in school when I was a kid. I was in school, but I was always in the office. I was in the office so much, the principal would send me on errands for him to a grocery store to pick him up food and shit because I was never in class. So they needed something to curb my aggression and curb my, kind of straighten me out a little bit. And I didn't play conventional sports. I never played basketball. I never played baseball. I never played, all the normal sports kids play, soccer, that sort of thing.
See, I was going to ask ice hockey because, of course, great opportunity to beat the crap out of somebody there.
Yeah, no, never. Too expensive. My parents were kind of, We were like low income family type thing. And they found a subsidized judo program out of the U of M, University of Manitoba. Mm-hmm. So it was cheap, man, $60 for 3 months. And, I started doing that, and I quickly learned that I was really good at that one-on-one combat sport type aspect. I quickly, my first national championships I ever went to, I was, maybe in judo a couple years, and I ended up winning a bronze. They sent me there to lose, just to get experience, and I ended up just steamrolling people, So I learned really quickly that I was good at one-on-one combat sports. And I love that if I go show up somewhere, I don't have to rely on anybody else. Either I win or I lose. That's it. You know what I mean? I don't blame anybody else. It's not my coach's fault. It's not my parents' fault. Somebody else didn't set me up. Not, you know what I mean? It's either I win or I lose, and I like that. And I got used to fighting in front of crowds, so I did that for a number of years on a high level. I won nationals, and I went to international competitions all over Canada. And then that became stale. I really wanted to punch somebody in the face. UFC had come out. I used to watch UFC with my dad. Yeah. And see, I used to watch old school like Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris movies too. You know what I mean? Like Van Damme and Steven Seagal. I was really into that shit. So when UFC came out, I was like, fuck, I want to do that. I want to do that. I don't care I don't care. That's what I want to do.
Can you remember what the first fight you saw was from the UFC? Was it way back with the Gordo and?
It was the very first fight. Well, it was UFC 1. I don't exactly know what the very first fight is. I remember I remember watching Royce Gracie fight, and my dad was like, "You're gonna grapple. That's what you're gonna do. You're gonna grapple." And I was like, "All right, whatever, sure." If you're gonna put me in something, he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna grapple." So then they put me in judo, and to their credit, sometimes I got. Almost wanted to quit a few times, and they just kept me in it, and then you know what I mean. I started winning. Once you start winning at something, it's easy to stay. You know what I mean? When you're finally winning at something in life, it's like I'm gonna do this more often. So,
and where did that transition come from the judo to wanting to punch people in the face and actually doing it?
Oh, man, because I was sometimes I would lose the guys, and I would think, man, if I could punch you in the face, I would destroy you. I would kill you. So then, I started kickboxing a bit when I was 16, and then I kind of quit doing judo for a bit and just partied for 5 years. And then at 20, 21, I found an MMA gym in my city finally that had just been coming out, and my buddy was actually training at the gym, and he was like, "Oh man, I got this super secret fight gym that nobody knows about," and I was like, "Yeah, okay, fuck, sure, okay, buddy, yeah, okay." He's like, no, you really have to come check it out. I was like, yeah, if it exists, I'll come check it out. But you know what I mean? I had my doubts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, okay, super secret gym nobody's ever heard of. Okay, man, get fucked, right? And then I went, and like sure enough, man, it was a jiu-jitsu gym, and I was doing jits, and I was watching other guys train, and other guys were getting AMI fights already, and I was watching them hit pads, and I was watching them, like, you know what I mean, train, and I was like, man, this is where I want to be. Like, this is where I've wanted to be for so long. I never knew this existed here in the city, you know. So I just stuck to it and just showed up every day. Every day they class, I just came. I just kept coming. It just kept coming. Then within a year, they started giving me amateur fights. And then, I had, a kickboxing fight, a couple of MMA fights, and then I think 3 years. I did a 5 years, and then I turned pro.
Yeah. And of course, the Canadian MMA scene is probably, no offense to my British brethren, but it's probably a little further ahead than
Yeah. They've been having like MMA fights, especially in Quebec, for a really long time.
Yeah.
Quebec's been having MMA fights. Like TKO promotion, I think, was the first promotion in Canada. And I remember watching all those guys fight on TV and being like, "Fuck, how do I get there?" Like who do I have to beat to get on that promotion?
Yeah.
And when I was an amateur, watching guys like Stamp Stout, Chris Horodesky, you know what I mean, Mark Hominick, all these guys, old school guys that some of them are still fighting today.
Yeah. And from the Canadian Fighting Championships that you did really well on whenever you appeared, how did the tough call come about? Was that something that you actively went for, or was that your coaches managed? How did that come about?
Actually, what happened was that I was training, and like I was 6-1 at the time, right? And I had just lost a very controversial split decision, and all of a sudden I got a Facebook message from somebody be like, I knew that UFC had bought out WEC. I knew I was close to getting a WEC. Like, I was ranked second in Canada at the time. I knew I was close, right? And I was actively looking for big fights in Canada, trying to get like the top guys to fight me, but they didn't want to. And then like somebody Facebooked me and be like, hey man, they're having a tough for 135. You got to try out for this. But the problem was that they announced it, then 2 weeks later they had the tryouts, right? They make it like that because they wanted only serious people to show up. They don't want to have it months ahead of time, have a whole bunch of idiots show up that shouldn't be there, and then so that only serious people would show up. But like I didn't have any money at the time, right? So I was like, fuck, what am I doing? So I was like, fuck it, I'm throw a party. I'm gonna charge people $10 at the door, and then we're just gonna party. And people are gonna pay me money to fly me out to Jersey and try out. So that's how it happened.
Yeah, was it like a kegger, or did you have the garbage pails full of like alcohol and Kool-Aid?
Oh, the local bar that I frequented on a very, you know what I mean, every other day, let me have the party there. So they're like, yeah, we'll let you charge people at the door. And then we had like a 50-50 raffle, and like, man, like 200 people showed up. You know what I mean? Because they all wanted to see me, try out for tough, because they believed in me. That's the one thing that surprised me, was that when I looked around the room, I was like, man, I can't believe this many people actually think, you know what I mean, that I can make it, or that actually want to see me try. That surprised me. I was like, man, I can't believe that many people believe in me, more than I believe in myself. You know what I mean? And so then, yeah, I made enough money to buy my plane ticket and get a hotel, and I just flew out on like a week's notice.
And the rest is history, as it were.
Yeah, man, I showed up there. I showed up early at the tryouts, and there was only 200 people in line. And I showed up early, and I was like, holy fuck. And then within an hour or two, there was like another 300 people that showed up. So I was standing in line. There's like 600 people there, and I'm like, holy fuck. Like, and then it's like a who's who of bantamweights from across the whole world. I'm looking around like, Jesus Christ. Like, there's like killers everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, do I really, really belong here? Like, did I just waste my time type thing? You know what I mean? And then once we got on the mats and started grappling, and I was watching guys grapple and stuff because the first round's grappling, second round stand up, then you do your interviews. Once I started to see people grappling, I realized like, oh yeah, fuck, I got this. I got these guys. I can handle this, no problem. And then, one thing led to another.
You know, we know a few of the guys that have appeared on the series of Tough, whether it be the Smashes or Nations or what have you. Certainly, the guys that appeared in the Smashes, you know, the overwhelming view that we get was that it wasn't an overwhelmingly positive experience for them. They found it very, very difficult for that time in the house. How was it for you?
You know, I didn't mind it. The training. I really like the training. I like training with like, you know, the best guys in the world, and like there was no off rounds. You know what I mean? When I was training, every time I went with somebody, they were a killer. You know, it was Johnny Bedford, you know, John Dotson, you know, Dennis Bermudez, Steve Seiler. You know what I mean? That's, you know, my team of killers I was training with on a daily basis. So that was awesome. They gave me the best coaches. That was awesome. The fact that they put you in a house though and just like cut you off from society, you know, like that like drove me fucking nuts. You know, like that like, you know, no books, no magazines, no nothing, no internet, no social contact of any kind except for the people that are there, like that. I hated that. I fucking hated that. And it's hotter than fucking Vegas, man. I'm from Winnipeg.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't get that hot here, man. You know, it doesn't get to plus 50. Fuck. I went outside and I burned so badly one time. I had blisters. Like, I was like, fuck, this is ridiculous. And then the AC was broken in the fucking house. And, I was asking for a fan for like 3 weeks. I was like, man, can you guys just give me a fan at least? Like, I sleep upstairs. Can you just give me a fan at least? Like, oh yeah, it's on the way. And they wouldn't bring me one. I don't know if it was just to piss me off and to make me angry and to create some sort of conflict or what. But it was like, man, can I at least get a fucking fan in this house? Like, this is ridiculous. So that aspect, you know, pissed me off. And just the disgustingness of living with 16 dudes who nobody wants to clean, nobody wants to do the dishes. Like, it was pretty fucking, especially the last 2 weeks, especially because everybody knows in 2 weeks we're going home, fuck it. And it was like the most disgusting place I've ever lived.
In the benefit of hindsight, this is a stupid question, seeing as where it's got you, but, you know, with that hindsight, would you have done it again?
Of course. I would do it over and over again until I won.
Fair enough. That's an honest answer, mate. Let's move on. We got UFC 174 coming up. You're going in, you know, you're going to have a Canadian fan base there. You're taking on a debuter, Michinori Tanaka. He's coming in. He's 9-0. Lots of fights in Japan. UFC debut. What do you know about this guy? Have you done research on him, or do you tend not to worry about your opponents at all?
No, man. You know, I definitely I like to take a look. I don't overly, you know what I mean, study them. You know, I don't obsess over it. The guy's, you know, 5'5", short, explosive, good wrestler, good grappler, but he's got some holes. You know, he definitely has some holes. He has some bad habits that he does when he's grappling. He gives his back up a lot. He gets kind of sloppy, and he gets kind of lazy. He takes you down and just kind of like lays on you. He doesn't really want to work too hard, you know. So he's got some things that he's not that good at, you know, but that being said, if he takes you down and he gets on top of you, you're going to have a hard time, you know what I mean, getting back up. So you got to be careful.
Would you say that's his biggest strength? The kind of top position?
Yeah. When he's on top, you know, that's definitely something I want to work on. If I can put him on his back, you know, it's definitely something I want to work towards. I think that's where I have the advantage, you know, especially coming out of Japan. You know, they don't use elbows much. You know, I don't think ever. You know, so that's definitely I want to stick my elbow in his face. You know, and cut him up. And that's where a lot of people, when they come from Japan, have a hard time transitioning to UFC because they're not used to getting elbowed from inside your guard. They're not used to getting elbowed from half guard. You know, stand up and whatnot. So if I can take advantage of that, that'd be cool. But as far as like studying, I know what he's gonna do. You know, I know what he wants to do. You know, I just got to do what I want to do. I got to be, you know, the fighter I want to be. You know, so it's one of those things where, you know, and with him having all his fights in Japan, which is cool. But I mean, who has he beat? Yeah. You know, he's 9-0. Who has he beat? He's beaten nobody. You know, he's beaten mediocre competition who were good but not great. You know, I've beaten and lost to better guys than him. So I think I have an advantage there, and I've had so many fights in UFC. At this point, you know, I'm starting to get pretty comfortable in the cage, and that's, I think, a huge advantage as well I'm going to have.
Are you going to bring a size advantage in here? I know it's bantamweight, but the Japanese tend not to cut a lot of weight. Do you, what do you walk around at usually? Because I'm guessing it's not 135.
Oh God, no. Right now I'm waking up at about 150, so I'm not that big, as far as bantamweights go. Like I know a lot of bantamweights are fucking bigger than me. I don't know how they make weight sometimes, but I mean I have a hard enough time making weight from here, let alone doing it from 155. So. I don't know if I'm gonna have a huge weight advantage, but I'm gonna have a structure advantage. I'm structurally bigger. I'm longer. I think I'm gonna be a little bit stronger. I think that's an advantage in itself. More than just the weight issue.
And are you doing anything in your training, geared towards the opponent? Is there any? I'm obviously not asking you to give away a game plan because there's none. But have you done anything different from this guy than perhaps you did for Davey?
Man, I'll give you my fucking game plan. I'm gonna beat him up, man.
Sweet.
I'm gonna beat him like he owes me money. That's my game plan. Fuck, that's it. I don't. However, I gotta do it. Doesn't matter if it's on the ground, if it's standing up. It doesn't matter. The fact I'm gonna put my hand and my knee in his face every chance I get. And I'm gonna make him doubt why he's here, or doubt why, what I mean, if he's capable of beating me. That's my game plan. As far as doing anything else with David Grant, every guy you fight who's different, you're gonna train a little bit different for. Everybody's got a different set of skills. Everybody's got a different set of like, okay, you should do this, but you shouldn't do this. This is a bad idea. This is a good idea. So there's always a little bit transition, but otherwise, man, if you show up in shape and on weight, the rest, it should be just should be doing it without thinking. Just fucking go in there and just grind, just go to work.
I spoke with you very briefly in London on fight day, and you were obviously very disappointed. How much has that kind of motivated you to go in? And because we all thought that, quite frankly, knowing the two of you, that it was a sleeper for fight of the night. There was a performance bonus there, we thought, quietly. How has that sort of given you a drive for this fight?
Man, really, more than anything, it just feels like I haven't fought in so long. I feels like it's been fucking so long since I've been in the cage, and I just want to go out there and just like perform the best I can, and I really show people what I'm about. But the one thing I really, really like, I hated not fighting in London. They destroyed me. It bothered me. I was like, fuck, come all this way. I don't even get to fight. But
sorry, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Do you blame Davey for that, or do you think he did the right thing by making the weight, showing that he had, going through that weight cut, proving that he could have fought, but knowing he was injured? How does that sit with you?
Man, I fought with a broken arm for 2 years. Okay, I needed to get surgery. You know how many fights in the UFC I've had where I've had no business fighting. I was so injured that I should have never even been in the cage, but I didn't pull out because I signed that contract. I showed up, I made weight, and now I'm going to fight, regardless of what happens. Either I win or lose, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I made a promise to my friends and family that I was going to fight, and they're going to watch. If something's like seriously broken, or if something's like you know what I mean? If something's like, if I'm in serious pain, maybe. But I mean, I trained 2 weeks for my fight against Caceres because I was injured all my whole camp. I still didn't pull out. It's one of those things where, when the doctor asks you, hey, is there anything bothering you? It's no, I'm good, man. I'm good. But can I take my knee? Can I do this? Do I blame him? Not really. Okay, he wanted to mention it because he wanted to play it safe. Okay, fine. That's no problem. But I mean, I would have never said anything. I just fought anyway. You know what I mean? So, to each their own, I guess.
Well, we'll move away from the unpleasant memory and get on to the memory to UFC 174 again. You fight in Canada, and it seems to me whenever a Canadian does there, that it gets pretty noisy. I mean, it rivals Brazil, it rivals most countries. Do you pay attention to that kind of second man? The audience. Do you take them in with you?
No, not so much. Like when I fought Winnipeg, when UFC was in Winnipeg, that was different because like it was my hometown, And like that's been a dream of mine ever since I started fighting. Like, oh, one day I want to fight in UFC. But that was like a pipe dream. It was like, yeah, no, it's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? But then it did, and I was like, holy fuck, it's crazy. So beyond that, it's no big deal. You know, once I get in the cage, start fighting, I don't even hear the crowd. They don't even they don't even exist for me. Bombs could be going off in the building, and I won't even notice. You know what I'm saying? I hear two voices with my coaches, and that's it. Otherwise, I hear nothing. You know, that's how it's always been for me.
Do you see this fight? You know, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. Is this fight going the distance?
This fight is not going a distance. One way or the other, it's gonna get finished. You know, if I gotta choke him out, if I gotta pound him out, if I got, you know, if he gets stopped on cuts, this fight is not going a distance. You know, as hard as I work, you know what? I'm a very lazy guy. I don't want to fight for 15 minutes if I don't have to.
Yeah.
If I can walk in there, two punch the guy, fucking collect both my checks and walk out, that's what I want to do. I don't want to be there for 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Fuck that.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. You know, seeing as you've had a bit of a layoff, you know, I know you guys spar hard, but there's a difference between sparring and being in the octagon in front of the fans and whatever. You know, is there any temptation to take this to the second round if you're owning it, or is it, yeah, 1-2, I'm finished, give me my money, ta-ta?
Yes, it's 1-2, give me my money, grab a fucking beer, I'm gonna hang out now and party. You know what I'm saying? Like but first I got to go to work first, then I get to have fun second. But luckily, they're both pretty fun. You know what I mean? It's just like what did what did Arnold Schwarzenegger say in Pumping Iron? It's like I'm coming all the time. You know what I mean? I'm coming in the cage. I'm coming at the after parties. You know, I'm always coming. It's fantastic.
I got to tell you, I know someone who's not going to be pleased to hear that at the moment, mate. But before, we'll wrap up 174, and then I'm obviously going to talk to you about your fear of everything cyborg. So, you know, for your fans, for the people watching, what message do you have for them and for Tanaka about Saturday, June 14th?
Saturday, June 14th, man. Check it out. It's definitely a fight worth watching, and it's going to end in devastating fashion.
And speaking of devastating fashion, we happen to know a young lady that's quite keen on you. You know, Patty Kianzad, we know her as a fighter from Sweden. We know that she's, I think, the 5th ranked flyweight female in the world.
She's pretty badass.
She is pretty badass. And my question, of course, first is, you know, when you're two fighters dating, that's got to have a different dynamic than perhaps a fighter whose partner isn't a fighter. How does that relationship work?
You know, it's actually it's cool in the way that like she gets it. You know what I'm saying? When she gets it, she understands it. When I'm training all the time, you know what I mean? When she's bitchy pre-fight, you know, I get it. When I'm kind of an asshole pre-fight, you know, she gets it. You know, like a lot of people don't understand the grind that we go through as fighters. You know, every day being in the gym. You know, being sore, tired, mentally. You know what I mean? Drained. Just kind of like fucking. You know, like just this like shutting the world off type thing. You know what I mean? So it's nice to be with somebody and talk to somebody who understands that aspect. You know, and can like help you through it. Versus just being like, why are you being a fucking asshole? Oh, you had a bad day at the gym? Why are you being a bitch to me? It's just like, you know what, shut the fuck up. Like, you don't get it. You just don't get it. You know, I don't want to hear your shit right now. You know what I'm saying?
Not that she'll see this interview, but who'd win in a fight?
No, not at all.
Who'd win in a fight? Fine, I'll accept no comment there as well, mate. That's not a problem at all. You know, we appreciate you spending some time with us, especially a day of training. We know that you're only 9 days out from your fight. Before I let you go, mate, is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to, any sponsors or anybody you'd like to thank for helping you in your preparation leading up to this fight?
Definitely, man. There's APTN, you know, Aboriginal People's Television Network, man. They got behind me for this fight, which is cool. When a lot of other people didn't want to because it was the Fight Pass, and you know what I mean. Nobody wants to sponsor a fighter on Fight Pass, and but they're getting behind me, and I'm doing a lot of work with them, and they're awesome. You know, I gotta thank my training partners. You know, obviously, I could never be where I'm at without them. You know, my team WAMA, my coaches Curtis Brigham, Kent Brown. You know, like Dave Zuniga, all these guys put all this time into me, all this effort into me, and you know, I just want to go out there and make them proud. You know, Strive Fitness, you know, where I do my strength conditioning, you know, Elite Boxing, where I box at, and it's definitely all these people, Hayabusa, you know, sponsor me for my fight. I just want to thank all those people, and you know, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna put someone to sleep.
Excellent. Look, Roland, I appreciate you spending half an hour with us today. It's been a pleasure meeting you, as it were, and we look forward. We'll be watching the fight on Fight Pass without question, and I know a lot of people will. So we wish you the best of luck, and we hope you smash it.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Cheers. Thank you so much for your time, mate.
Hey, no problem, man.
Awesome.
Anytime.
Cheers, pal.